Let's start with something simple, mindful breathing. I know, it sounds a bit cliche, but hear me out. Taking just a few minutes each day to focus on your breath can work wonders for your stress levels and overall well-being. In fact, a study published in the Journal of Clinical Psychology found that deep breathing can significantly reduce anxiety and improve overall mental health. Here's what I do. Every morning, before I even get out of bed, I take 5 deep breaths. I inhale slowly through my nose, then exhale through my mouth. It's such a simple practice, but it helps me start my day on a calmer note. Now let's talk about something we lost in our digital age, single tasking. We've all been conditioned to believe that multitasking is the key to productivity. But research tells a different story. A study from Stanford University found that heavy multitaskers are actually less productive and more easily distracted than those who focus on one task at a time. I used to pride myself on my ability to juggle multiple tasks simultaneously, but I've since learned the value of giving my full attention to one thing at a time. Whether it's cooking dinner, having a conversation with a friend, or working on a project, I try to be fully present in that moment. It takes practice, especially if you're used to constantly switching between tasks, but the benefits are worth it. Not only does single tasking improve your focus and productivity, but it also allows you to fully engage with and enjoy whatever you're doing. Speaking of engaging fully, let's talk about one of my favorite slow living practices, mindful eating. In our busy lives, it's easy to fall into the habit of scarfing meals while scrolling through our phones or working at our desks. But when we eat mindfully, we not only enjoy our food more, but we also improve our digestion and overall relationship with food. So, for your next meal, put away all distractions, turn off the TV, set aside your phone, and just focus on your food. You might be surprised at how much more satisfying your meals become when you slow down and really pay attention to what you're eating. Now let's shift gears a bit and talk about something that's become a bit of a buzzword in recent years. Digital detoxing. Don't worry, I'm not going to tell you to throw your smartphone out the window, although sometimes that's tempting, right? Instead, I want to encourage you to be more intentional about your screen time. According to our reports, the average person spends nearly 7 hours per day looking at screens. That's almost half of our waking hours. While technology certainly has its benefits, constant connectivity can also lead to increased stress, decreased productivity, and a disconnection from the world around us. Here's a simple way to start. Set aside specific times each day to check your emails and social media rather than constantly responding to notifications. I like to check my emails 3 times a day, once in the morning, once after lunch, and once before I finish work for the day. Another tip, try implementing a no phones at the dinner table rule. Use that time to connect with your family or roommates, or simply enjoy your meal without the constant ping of notifications. And if you're feeling really brave, consider a weekly digital switch-off challenge, a day where you completely unplug from technology and focus on offline activities. Speaking of offline activities, let's talk about the power of nature in slow living. There's something magical about spending time outdoors that helps us slow down and reconnect with ourselves and the world around us. Research has shown that spending time in nature can reduce stress, improve mood, and even boost creativity. One of my favorite slow living practices is what I call my nature bath. It is simply spending time immersed in nature, using all your senses to soak in your surroundings. It can be a walk in the park, sitting by a lake, or even just spending time in your backyard. Now let's talk about something that might seem counterintuitive when it comes to slow living. Exercise. You might be thinking, wait a minute, isn't exercise all about pushing yourself and going faster? Well, not necessarily. While high-intensity workouts certainly have their place, incorporating slower, more mindful forms of exercise can be a great way to embrace slow living. Consider activities like yoga or even a leisurely walk. These forms of exercise not only benefit your physical health, but also provide an opportunity to slow down, connect with your body, and practice mindfulness. I personally love starting my day with a gentle yoga practice. It helps me set a calm, intentional tone for the rest of my day. And here's a fun fact. Research published in the Journal of Health Psychology found that mindful exercise practices like yoga can significantly reduce stress and improve overall well-being. Let's move on to something that's close to my heart, decluttering. Now, I'm not talking about going full Marie Kondo and getting rid of everything you own. Instead, I'm talking about being more intentional about the things we bring into our lives and the spaces we inhabit. If you want to learn more about decluttering, check the description and you will find some of the best videos on decluttering. And one of the tips from those videos that's been a game changer for me. 1 in, 1 out rule. For every new item you bring into your home, remove 1 item. This helps prevent clutter from building up and encourages us to be more mindful about our purchases. Speaking of purchases, let's talk about consumption. In our consumer-driven society, it's easy to fall into the trap of buying things we don't really need. But embracing slow living means being more intentional about our consumption habits. Before making a purchase, ask yourself, do I really need this? Will it add value to my life? Is it aligned with my values? Taking a moment to reflect before buying can help us avoid impulse purchases and accumulate less stuff. Another aspect of slow living that I've come to appreciate is the art of saying no. In our culture of constant hustle, it can feel like we need to say yes to every opportunity or invitation that comes our way. But learning to say no to things that don't align with our values or priorities is crucial for creating a slower, more intentional life. Now let's talk about something that might seem a bit old-fashioned but is so important in our digital age: handwritten notes. There's something special about taking the time to put pen to paper, whether it's writing in a journal, sending a thank you note, or even just jotting down your thoughts. In fact, research has shown that writing by hand can improve memory retention and boost creativity. Plus, there's a certain mindfulness that comes with the act of writing that you just don't get from typing on a keyboard. It's a simple act that can bring so much joy to both the sender and the recipient. Speaking of joy, let's talk about the importance of play in slow living. As adults, we often forget the value of pure, unadulterated fun. But incorporating play into our lives can be a wonderful way to slow down, reduce stress, and reconnect with our inner child. This doesn't mean you need to go out and buy a bunch of toys. Play can be as simple as having a dance party in your living room, playing a board game with friends, or even just being silly and laughing with your loved ones. Now let's talk about something that's become increasingly rare in our fast-paced world: boredom. Yes, you heard me right. Boredom can actually be a good thing when it comes to slow living. In our constant quest for stimulation and productivity, we've lost the art of simply being. But allowing ourselves to experience boredom can lead to increased creativity, self-reflection, and even problem-solving skills. So next time you find yourself with nothing to do, resist the urge to immediately reach for your phone or find a task to occupy yourself. Instead, try sitting with that feeling of boredom. Let your mind wander. Another important aspect of slow living is cultivating meaningful relationships. In our hyper-connected world, it's easy to mistake social media interactions for genuine connection. But slow living encourages us to prioritize deep, meaningful relationships over surface-level connections. Instead of scrolling through social media, call a friend you haven't spoken to in a while. Or, better yet, meet up in person for a coffee or a walk. There's something special about face-to-face interactions that just can't be replicated through a screen. And speaking of connections, let's not forget about our connection to our local community. Slow living often goes hand in hand with supporting local businesses and getting involved in community events. Whether it's shopping at your local farmer's market, volunteering at a community garden, or attending local events, these activities help us slow down and feel more connected to the place we call home. Now, I know we've covered a lot of ground here, and you might be feeling a bit overwhelmed. Remember, embracing slow living isn't about completely overhauling your life overnight. It's about making small, intentional changes that add up over time. Start with 1 or 2 of these tips that resonate with you. Maybe it's taking a few mindful breaths each day or implementing a digital detox once a week. Whatever you choose, approach it with curiosity and compassion for yourself. This isn't about perfection, it's about progress.